Ready or Not did something great.
FBI, open up!
It picked up the flag dropped by the near and dear to my heart SWAT and Rainbow Six series and carried it on with gusto. It was either an indie studio does it or nobody will. This type of games always seems too risky for the execs to approve as an investment. Too niche, too out there for today's attention-deprived audience. Well, as it turns out, once again, a part of the audience was underestimated. There's still a market for tactical squad, slow burn shooters with high risk. It's so much fun, I'm telling you right now. Unconstrained by lame Team 17 demands who are known for ruining amazing games. Void Interactive stuck to their guns and took probably the most significant step towards realism and grittiness other games could not for obvious reasons. Depicting crime and what some horrible members of human society are capable of. And what's great about it is that they showed the other side of the coin too, emotional trauma and PTSD, and actually turned it into a game mechanic. Show me on the doll, but get points for it. They got a lot of praise and earned the players' loyalty on a global scale thanks to this approach. Players loved the bravery on the developers' part. There's profanity that feels right at home.
Get on the fucking ground!
The situations and events in Ready or Not would make a monk curse like a sailor. The themes themselves are unfortunately very topical these days. They are the worst you can imagine sometimes. But that's what SWAT officers are dealing with on their job. They meet the cream of the criminal crop. This is the edge all the prior games in the genre were lacking. Except for SWAT 4, they really went there. Only once, but man was that memorable. Humans have a tendency to remember bad things more vividly. That's not me speculating, it's been scientifically proven. Ever since the early access, the game was plagued with technical issues, but everyone was willing to put up with it because the game delivered where it counted most. You could even say Void filled that void, with some quality trauma. But life is unfair and we're reminded that we can't have nice things the hard way with Ready or Not. Void dove into a different void, of selling out. In May 25 we learned that Ready or Not was coming to PS5. Everyone thought it was great news. Now the console players will get to experience the game we all enjoy so much and see for themselves what the fuss was all about. I actually told a lot of my friends who play on PS5 that they should get it. But then, when the initial excitement subsided, a thought crossed my mind. Wait, is Sony okay with all these themes? Of course they weren't. Void was here to kick names and take asses. Or maybe take it in the ass. About a millennia ago, when I was a wee lad, there was this company I adored called Sierra Online. They made so many games I adored as a kid, and I still love them today. Founded in 1979, they were one of the first to realize the potential of text adventures to become a new medium by enhancing them via graphics. They've come a long way and became a legend of the early PC gaming. The Incredible Machine, Space Quest, Leisure Suit Larry, King's Quest and Police Quest and its SWAT spin-offs. SWAT 3 in particular holds a very special place in my heart. It felt like being a SWAT officer. You're commanding a team, and the tasks ramp up from a household disturbance to a bank robbery or even a full-blown terrorist attack. The missions were varied and felt like serious business. And the pace was novel at the time, well, at least for me. So much work went into making it, well, work, and look believable and frankly ahead of its time. You could almost feel the anxiety setting in. It basically created a whole niche within the FPS genre, realistic squad-based tactical shooter, and for the longest time the OG SWAT 3 remained on top. Rainbow Six did it exceptionally well too. But SWAT felt like home for me. It even had a DLC. And it was such a novel concept at the time. Well, again, at least for me. Even though it wasn't really that novel. It's just that I wasn't accustomed to it yet. Later it got bundled with the Elite edition of the game. Unlike its predecessors, it was met with mild praise from critics and remained a commercial success. The menus were sleek, the dialogue, although lacking in profanity and certain realism, was very well written and acted. And the sequel was really good too. The menu design was less fitting the theme in my opinion, but nevertheless, it was almost perfect where it really counted. It felt like an evolution. But then the quests stopped, the tactical shooters stopped, and Sierra itself stopped. All good things come to an end, and we were left yelling into the void. But then, the void answered. And please don't make me saying void into a drinking game. I'm sure you know where all this is going, but it started so well. Not without a hitch, of course, but the passion was definitely there. The vision was so clear and glorious. A truly gritty, rough and realistic tactical squad shooter. There were procedures to be followed, scores to be beat. Camaraderie was also built in co-op. And then they even came up with the best marketing trick ever, letting actual special forces and police veterans play their game and record it for viewing pleasure. Before you were swatted or swatted others, now you get to swat yourself, you weirdo. Being a jaded old fart, I was hesitant for a while. Too many shooters promised way too much before face-planting into the biggest pile of shit at release. The list is too long to read, but it seems like the developers were actually developing, and it was cheap. So I jumped in, why not? And I was taken back to my happy youth years. It was like playing SWAT 3 all over again, but with F-bombs. Perfect, absolutely perfect. Everyone loves to swear. But all that lovely swearing aside, the game itself is fantastic. You feel at home right away because the menus are straight from SWAT 4. You can buy the doors, you can pick the doors, you can slowly open them, mirror them, check for traps, openings and suspects, and civilians of course. This ain't no Call of Duty, man. You won't be sliding and jumping around and running at 30 miles per hour while reloading. This is a whole different kind of game. It's a lot more realistic, and you gotta be precise, meticulous, and very careful. Otherwise, things go south really fast. Of course, it wasn't actually perfect. The animations are crude, the lighting is archaic and unrealistic, but the briefings, the dialogue, the situations, the vibe were spot on.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
Can you tell me what's wrong?
I'm hiding.
You feel like teaching these bastards some manners and put them behind bars or even in some cases 6 feet under. The weapons handling and overall shooting mechanics were aiming, yeah, pun intended, for realism, and they somewhat succeed. At least well enough for people to keep playing and keep buying. If only there were a way to feel that 12-gauge slug recoil and smell the burning gunpowder and hear the ringing in your ears after the door charge blows while suspects beg for... For those of you who are somehow not familiar with the formula, it goes something like this. You have a squad of pretty capable bot officers who will obey your commands without question, which is very refreshing after playing with friends who consistently question every decision. This involves movement, checking for suspects, traps, deploying gear, clearing rooms, arresting and searching for evidence. Bots are actually way better than humans at doing the latter. They also gain experience on missions and develop a trait, something in particular that they're very good at. When things inevitably go south, their stress levels will go up and you'll need to keep tabs on it, swapping out team members who are in crisis and sending them to therapy. I usually did it before it came to crisis. In extreme cases they might even resign. They might all resign. There go your best subduer and your best negotiator. If you're after best scores and achievements, you better focus on non-lethal takedowns and subduing the suspects without spilling their blood, no matter how much you'd like to in certain cases. But more on that later. No casualties has another benefit of your team not getting any stress. Everything needs to go smooth and by the numbers. Just like Gorman wanted. Only this time it's in the realm of possibility. The assets look nice, but some of them lack polish. Collisions are primitive and shoving suspects' heads through solid objects is a common occurrence. The animations themselves are rigid, awkward and stiff. But that's to be expected. I'd be shocked if Void would have pulled off smooth, realistic character interactions. But to someone like me, it looks endearing. It gives me sweet SWAT 3 flashbacks. It feels like home. Until it doesn't. Yeah, it's a flimsy excuse, but you don't have to agree with it. You may also feel like your home has lost its virginity, and there's no going back from that. AI can surprise you with how professionally they carry out your orders, only to do something mentally challenged a moment later. But fortunately, it's not a common occurrence. 99% of the time they're reliable and you can tell them to clear a room and be confident they will handle it without a hitch. The thing that confuses the most is a complicated room layout, especially if there are multiple levels and entry points. They're not okay with multiple penetration. Voice acting is kind of all over the place. Mostly it's fantastic, all key characters are voiced wonderfully, but occasional NPCs can be jarring and immersion breaking. Thank God they're spending every penny where it counts, right? Right? Another thing I've heard about this one quite a few times is that performance on older systems is dodgy. I can neither confirm nor deny it. For me it runs alright. However, it must be mentioned that along with the console release, Void introduced a huge graphical downgrade to Ready or Not. On the forums they said it's a bug and told everyone they're working on it. It's been a while though. Them pesky bugs are so darn hard to fix. Well, it's way harder than selling your soul and convictions to a Japanese corpo. A few of the assets seem store-bought, and a couple of levels have that exquisite feeling of a scale model. The rooms are too clean, too featureless, as if the sense of scale is broken. You're actually playing with your toy soldiers in your sister's dollhouse. Maybe it's intentionally so, because the themes of those missions are just too dark. You don't want them to be real. As my friend on Steam once said, enjoy your PTSD. I need to cope right now a little, Siri. Play Shakedown on repeat. But that PTSD is part of what we SWAT fans all came for. We all remember those graves that were way too small for comfort in the basement in that SWAT formation. How can anyone forget something like that? That's why I can't replay LA Noire. I remember everything like it was yesterday. And if this is not a testament to how disturbing the events in those games were, then I don't know what is. For over 2 years, I could say the same thing about Ready or Not. We weren't ready. It tells you about the worst sides of humanity and our society. We like to pretend those things don't happen, those people don't exist, but they do. And those things do happen. This harsh sincerity was what elevated Ready or Not for me. It went there. Those operatives need therapy for a reason. You never question it. Hell, after a certain mission I felt like talking to a shrink myself. Given the stuff that circulates the news these days, it resonates big time. I wish it didn't though. This topic fills me with blind rage. I so didn't want to detain any of those excuses for human beings in that mansion. I wanted to channel my inner Titus there and purge. And that's exactly how you're supposed to feel. Police work is no joke. It gives you scars and makes your face twitchy and your behavior unstable, and the neighbors are now scared of you. But guess what? Void was about to put a nice thick condom all over it. Instead of being striking and make you think and reflect, it makes you purse your lips in contempt at the hypocrisy being on full display. All that pretense is just revolting. If Sony wants to stick their head in the sand, let them, but you joined them instead. And what's worse, you're in denial about it. I had immense respect towards the team at Void for having the balls to call things for what they were. and tell a harrowing story of a country's criminal underbelly. But now it's all in the past. There's only room for child-friendly criminals now. Way too friendly in certain cases. But that doesn't bother Sony, no, just make sure there are no syringes there. What's especially upsetting is how they keep telling that they cannot give PC players an option to revert back to the uncensored version of the game. Which is an obvious lie. They permit mods, but after the console release update, the mods are now game-breaking. Game-breaking in the sense that if the mods are on, there will be no progression. There are a few weirdos who say that's not a big deal, but let me explain something. Having options is always better because in that case you have a choice. You might not want to see the uncensored stuff and you have the option not to see it. Even better, if you're offended, just don't buy the game in the first place. But now you don't have a choice. You're deprived of it. And having the ability to choose is way better than losing that option. That one should be obvious, right? Apparently it's not. Void is now pro-marketing, pro-selling out, and pro-no choice. Their representative's behavior on Steam forums leaves no room for hope. He politely shut down all the requests and pleads for it to be optional on PC. There's a mostly uncensored or not mod on Nexus Mods that mostly, as the name states, reverts the nuked content. But it's a gargantuan task to keep the mod running with all the updates the game is receiving, and I wouldn't put it past Void at this point to just attack the mod or its compatibility just to nuke it too. I used to play this game a lot for fun and partially nostalgia. It reminded me of my childhood and enjoying things I was probably way too young for. I think I turned out okay. I post stupid videos on YouTube that nobody watches. So the mod won't bring dismemberment back, which isn't a big deal for me personally. I never even knew I could do that in Ready or Not. But losing the option to immediately makes me upset. It's not like I needed it, I just like having options. But the partially nude character models, the miner in the Twisted Nerve mission and the original phrasing in the mission's description are back. Not fully though. There won't be blood and there won't be a syringe there. The deranged cabin owner no longer has his pee-pee out. It's not a big deal, but those details matter. They add a lot of weight to those moments. You need to be horrified and disgusted. This is a glimpse at those facets of life we prefer not to think about. The devil is in the detail, you know? But regardless of our preference, they're there. Whether we like it or not. And that's the grit Ready or Not lost. Deliberately, on purpose, it became smooth and round like Hideaki Nishino's face. It used to have Eastwood's chiseled jawline. Now it's this. I can't help but wonder if all Void employees are on board with this decision. Because it might sound harsh or overblown, but it's kind of a betrayal of those of us who supported this game since the early days and its early access release. One of the key reasons this game stood out at the time was the fact that it didn't pull punches and it wasn't afraid. It didn't wear a body-sized condom, now it does. And they didn't even cut out the eye holes to see what a mess they've created. That Sony money bag must be pretty hefty. Void keeps making announcements that imply that they have enough money for pointless marketing events while refusing all community pleas for giving us PC players an option to bring the censored stuff back. Thing is, when you take something away, it's way worse than if it was never there. And the excuses get even more and more ridiculous. So, should you get this game? If you're okay with the devs taking things from you without your consent, then yes. This happens way more often than we'd like to admit. If you're disgusted by such conduct, then you already made your choice. I have a friend who was on the fence about getting in and playing it together, who now says he really wants it, but its current state goes against all his principles. Now, is it just a very convenient excuse for not buying it, or is it actually true is anyone's guess. My personal opinion is that the game was better before. It looked better in terms of graphics, and it looked better in terms of showing how terrible crime is. And now it's just a decent semi-realistic tactical shooter. Let's add it to the could have been great list.